Hello, and thank you for joining us. We will be learning Lekutei Siches Chelek Yud Gimel, the Sicha of Korach Aleph. And this is a Rashi Sicha. A Rashi Sicha, short and fairly straightforward. It's this one very simple concept that will answer all the questions, but you will have to go through quite a few questions in order to get to the answer. So we're in Parshas Korach. Of course, Korach v'Adosai, they came to complain against Moshe Rabbeinu, and it comes to a point where the Eibishter speaks, this is in the Chumash, the Eibishter speaks to Moshe and Aaron and says, separate yourself from these people and I will destroy them at once. So the Pasuk continues, Pasuk Chav Beis. The Pasuk continues that the Moshe and Aaron fell on their faces by Yemiru, and they said, the Eibishter of the Ruchais, of the spirits, L'chal Basar, Ha'isha Echad Yechta, will one person sin? In the form of a question, are you going to be angry at the whole Eidah, at the whole congregation, at the whole group, just because one person had sinned? So there's two Rashis on this Pasuk. This is Pasuk Chav Beis, and let's learn it, and we'll follow it in the Sikha. See, if Aleph ala Kosev, Vayiplu al Pneiam v'Geimar, the Pasuk says they fell on their faces. It says Moshe and Aaron. Maitik Rashi Kela Lekei Aruches. Rashi quotes the words Kela Lekei Aruches, the God of the gods, or of the spirits, and he explains Yedei Machshavos. Ruches here means Machshavos, thoughts. The Eibishter who knows thoughts. And Rashi explains, Ein midascha k'midas basar v'adam. Your midah, your measure, your reaction is not like that of a human king. Melech basar v'adam shesar chalav mixes medina. A melech, a human king, which is a group of his country rebelled against him. Sarcha literally means, sarcha comes from the word sirchen, which means something that's spoiled or smells bad. So the people, they acted inappropriately towards him. He doesn't know which of the people sinned. He knows a group of people sinned, doesn't know who it was. Therefore, when he becomes angry at them, he punishes all of them. You know everybody's thoughts. And you know who's the sinner. So therefore, why would you punish so many more people? Sometimes haruchais could mean neshamis, the God of the souls, of the neshamis. So Rashi is telling us that not to translate ruchais as in neshamis, but it means thoughts. What does it mean? The God of the thoughts, the Eibishter of the thoughts. The Eibishter who knows the thoughts. Like we find in the previous parasha, Parasha Shlach, where the Eibishter says, "Va'avdi Kalev, Ekev Haisa Ruach Acheres Imay." My servant Kalev, because he had a different ruach with him, Shetevas Ruach Anemar Ba in Yana Machshava, which over there ruach also means machshava. What happened was that Kalev, in order to attract the Yidden's attention, he called out to the Yidden to say, you think to this is the only thing Moshe did? He tried to attract their attention as if he would speak out against Moshe. And in the end, he spoke positively about Eretz Yisrael. So they refer to this as Echad B'Pev, Echad B'Lev. That even though he was saying something, he had a different machshava with him. He had a different thought with him. So and the word in the pasuk he uses for thought is ruach. So therefore we see from here that ruach could mean machshava, and that's what Rashi says, that Elokei Ruchos means idea machshavas. Very simple, right? What's the proof that it means machshavas? Rak lepiruzeh, mubenes hashayches, shalach chalas adibur, Elokei Ruchos, mashakasav lachrezeh, ha'isha echad yechtav al kol eidah tiktzef. If you translate ruchos to be machshavas, then the rest of the pasuk makes sense. Since Hashem knows the thoughts, if he knows who is the sinner and upon whom to be angry, And therefore, we're asking him why he's being angry at everyone. If you're saying it that Hashem is the Hashem of the Neshamis, how does that lead to the second half of the pasuk that's asking the Eibishter why he's angry at everybody if just one person sinned? So just the flow of the pasuk works much better if the word ruchais means machshavos. And that's actually how Rashi continues. Ein midascha k'midas basar adam. Your midah is not like that of a human being, v'chulu, etc. Avalata chulu v'yedei atam yachete, but you do know who sinned. If you say that Elokei Ruchos means that Hashem knows the machshavos, then the flow of the pasuk is well understood. That he's telling him, why are you angry at everyone if only one person sinned? And because you're a Yedei Machshavos, you know who sinned. And that is the hechrich, that is the compelling proof to Rashi's Pirush. So far the Rashi, in the Hanocha, in the original Farbrengen, the Rabbi said we learned this Rashi via Vaser. It flows beautifully. It seems we learn it. We don't ask any questions on it. We don't have any answers. We learned it. It seems very simple. Rashi is saying Yedei Machshavos, that the Eibush is Yedei Machshavos. He knows who sinned. He knows who made the trouble. So why is everyone getting punished if only one person sinned? However, the Rebbe has 5 questions on this Rashi. Sharach Lav. Aleph. Lama l'Rashi lahasbir adavar she'emi daschak midas basar adam al de'am moshel shemalach basar adam. Why does Rashi have to explain this idea that the Eibishter is different than a human king with a moshel of a melech basar adam? Ezo havhara v'teistis beer. What form of clarification or extra explanation yesh al yedei moshel zeh is being given through this moshel? The Moshe Rabbeinu is saying that since you know machshavos, you know who sinned, why would you punish more people than those who sinned? What is the muscle of a human king? What is it adding that we can't understand without it? Base. And if this muscle does add something, which we don't know yet what that would be, but if we were to say that there's something that is missing, that the muscle is explaining and strengthening, intensifying Moshe Rabbeinu's claim that only the person who sinned should get punished. And that's why Rashi, and that's why Rashi has to bring this mashal here, because it helps understand Moshe Rabbeinu's question of Hashem. Why does Rashi not bring this mashal earlier on in Torah? The Parshas Vayera. When it comes to Parshas Vayera, B'tainis Avram Avinu, when Avram Avinu is arguing, is debating with Hashem about the people of Sdom, which Avram Avinu had a very similar taina, seemingly to Moshe Rabbeinu. And therefore, seemingly, it would have been appropriate to bring this mashal over there much earlier on in the Torah. B'negel is Sdom. Over there, Avraham Avinu was arguing with Eibush about Sdom, and his argument was, "Ha'avtis betzadik Rasha, are you going to destroy the tzaddik with the Rasha?" And Rashi should have brought the Moshe l'melech basar v'adam, who by a basar v'adam, he doesn't know who's the troublemaker, and therefore he has to kill everyone or punish everyone. But you Eibush, you know who's the tzaddik, you know who's the Rasha. So why would you destroy the whole Sdom? It would have been a perfect mashal over there. If the mashal is adding something to this argument, why is it ersht introduced here in Parshas Korach and Chumash Bamidbar and not earlier on in Parshas Vayera? Question Gimel. Harei gam melech basar v'adam b'yimei b'tzedek v'yesher harei k'sheyachta echad le'yanitz anashim rabim ki'im sheyimna sheifet v'chulu sheyachker v'yidreish v'yivarer mi'acheta. So until now, we were following a premise that a melech basar v'adam punishes everyone. He doesn't know who sinned, so he punishes everyone. In question Gimel, we're questioning that premise. Is it true that a melech basar v'adam just punishes everybody? If one person sinned in the kingdom of the Melech Basar Adam, and he doesn't know who it is, he'll appoint a judge who will investigate and who will search and explore to discover who is the chayta. And even if they can't figure out who's the criminal, who's the sinner, and if the king can't figure out who it was, will a yashar heilig, will a king who goes justly, just indefinitely, not indefinitely, there's a word I'm thinking of, sorry. But would the king go and punish everyone just like that? So why is Rashi coming and saying a Melech Basar Adam is going to punish everyone because he doesn't know who sinned? L'chayra, even a Melech Basar Adam is not going to punish everyone. Then we have two more questions. These questions are actually on the wording of Rashi. They're diyukim. Daled Pasach Rashi b'lashon sarcha alav mixes medina u'misayim b'lashon miyu achayta. I said before that the word sarcha comes from the word sirchain, which means something that doesn't smell good or spoiled. So Rashi begins with a lashon sarcha, that the Medina, the people of the Medina, they were sarcha alav. And then when Rashi ends, he ends with the word chet, which is a sin. Why does Rashi change the terminologies in the middle of the Rashi? Hey, similarly, Kain Messiah Rashi Eina Yedea Miyu Achayta Lashon Yachid. In the beginning, he says that a significant portion of the Medina, at least certainly more than one person, sarcha alav. And then at the end, he says Miyu Achayta. The Chayta is a Lashon Yachid. So Manushach, if it should have even if he's switching the lashon from sarcha to chet, he should have said mi heim ha'chaytim, who are the sinners, since there was a mixes medina that sinned. So these are our 5 questions on this Rashi. In Eis Beis, we're going to open up the next Rashi. Then Rashi quotes the words Ish Echad from the pasuk Umefarish, and he says, "Hu achayta." This Ish Echad, he is the sinner. And you are going to be angry on the whole Eidah. So the Rebbe answered to Moshe Rabbeinu, you said good. I do know and I will let it be known who did sin and who didn't sin. So that basically Rashi continues from his previous Rashi and says that the one person, he is the sinner. Why would you be angry at everyone? And the Rebbe answers, you're right. I'm going to tell everyone. I know, and I'm going to tell everyone who did sin and who didn't sin. Also, this has 5 questions. Really 6, but 5 of them are numbered. Mahi kavanas Rashi b'pirush zeh. Sheb'makim ha'ish echad yechta shenemer b'kra kasav hu achayta. V'hayisiv tevas v'ata al kol ha'eda tiktev. What Rashi does is he takes the word yechta, he quotes ha'ish echad. In the pasuk it says the word yechta, and Rashi translates that or explains that to mean hu hachayta. Yeah, he is the sinner. Then he adds the word v'ata al kol ha'eda tiktev, which is already in the pasuk. It does not seem to be adding anything in the pasuk. In order 19, he brings that yechta is lashon asid, future tense. So Rashi is saying that he's not that Moshe is not saying that the ish echad is going to sin in the future, but hu achayta, he is the sinner that we're talking about who already sinned. But the question is, it says in the Hara that first of all, Rashi doesn't say the word yechta in the Dibra Mascha. Rashi should have explained that. He doesn't mention it, he just says the word hu achayta. So besides the fact that Rashi seems to ignore it from the Dibra Mascha, which seems that Rashi is not coming to explain the word yechta, he doesn't address the asid in the past and the future. So the question is, what is Rashi telling us? What is Rashi adding? Question base. If Rashi is taka, which we don't know how yet, but if Rashi is actually explaining the word yechta by saying huachaita, and explaining val koleda tiktsev with the words vata that he adds, then he should have quoted the words either yechta or al koleda tiktsev in the dibra maschil. Oy al kol panim la ramzon b'v'gomer, at least to hint to them with the words v'gomer. Rashi is very selective by saying only the words of ish echad, which seems to imply that Rashi is talking about the ish echad. So in that case, what's he adding with huachaita v'ata al kol eda tiktiv? Question Gimel: my kavanas Rashi was a shemoisef ha'inyan amar hakadosh baruch hu yafa chulu chata yafa chulu ani yedeu mediyah michata milei chata. What is Rashi adding here? Rashi is coming to explain Moshe Rabbeinu's taina. He's not coming to explain what the Eibishter answered. If Rashi quotes what the Eibishter is answering, it's because seemingly we need that to understand what Moshe's taina was. So how does Hashem's answer to Moshe help us understand what Moshe's taina was? In other words, what the pshat in the pasuk is as to what Moshe's taina was. Dalit. The Bible of the taina is Moshe Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu al Moshe. In response, Moshe, the Eibishter says to Moshe, Daber el ha'eda leimer. I'm reading from the pasuk over here. Speak to the Eda. He'olu misaviv lemishkan Korach dasan v'aviram. Rise up, go away from around the dwelling place of Korach dasan v'aviram. V'akasav mefarish einish shegia l'shlashtem. And then the pasuk continues to tell the punishment that occurred to all three. And based on this, we don't understand what Rashi is telling us. Yafa Marta. Hainu shakadosh baruch hu maskim l'tainas Moshe ha'ish echad v'tevis elu ma'atik Rashi yechta. It seems that Hashem is agreeing to tainas Moshe, the ha'ish echad, which Rashi is quoting from the pasuk. One person sinned. And Rashi actually says the words of Ish Echad in this Dibra Maschil. The Eibishter is telling Moshe Rabbeinu in the end that there was three people that sinned: Korach and Dasan and Aviram. So how could he say Yafa Marta, he seems to be agreeing to Moshe Rabbeinu that Ish Echad Yechad only one person sinned, and then go ahead and tell us in two psukim later that three people sinned? Question hey. Ani yodeya, l'chein meyuter, ki achidush rak bani meidiyah. The main chiddush here is that the Eibishter is going to be meidiyah via the punishment. Who is the chayter? The ani yodeya we already know. Moshe Rabbeinu said in his question, "Yakel lekei ruchas yodeya machshavas." Ubefrat Rashi moisiv zeh aloshna medrash yodeya. The medrash says ani meidiyah. Rashi is the one who adds the words Ani Yodeya, which means that obviously the Rashi feels that the Lashon HaMedrash is insufficient. So what is the chiddush of the words Ani Yodeya that Rashi has to go and add it in, even though it's not clearly said in the Medrash? And after these 10 questions, 5 on the first Rashi, 5 on the second Rashi, we have a general question of the whole discussion, on the whole concept. The Psukim making this kakamapamim. Shemachlekes Korach al Moshe v'Aaron. Hishtatvu anashim rabim. The Psukim mention clearly that many people were involved in the machlekes of Korach over Moshe and Aaron. For example, it says v'yakumu v'anashim b'nei Yisrael chamishim Mosayim. It says that there were 250 people that joined Korach. V'yikalu al Moshe v'Aaron. They gathered together against Moshe and Aaron. Moshe Dibur, another pasuk, it says that Moshe spoke El Korach El Kol Adosai, to Korach and his whole congregation, his whole group of people. V'yichiach Kames Kol Adosai. Moshe Rabbeinu reproached the whole Eda of Korach. V'ach Omar Ata V'chol Adoscha Anoyadim Al Hashem, as Moshe said, you and your whole group, your whole congregation that are coming to argue, to come up against Hashem. Ubepirish Rashi teaches shekvarze biyodam. Again, yodam is emphasized because it's lashon rabim. This was their fourth sin. Chatu be'egel v'chulu. He started with the sin of the egel, etc., etc., and this was sin number 4. So mikol samuchach shliachad milvad chatu v'machleikizu. That it wasn't just one person that was sinning in this machleikis. Gam lefi daito Moshe, even according to Moshe Rabbeinu's perspective, Moshe knew that it was an Eidah. Moshe knew that it was a group of people that had sinned before against him, and were sinning again now. So where does Moshe get it from to say that one person sinned? It's against the facts, and it's a fact that Moshe Rabbeinu himself knew. Why does he ignore the reality that he was dealing with at least 250 people? What's this Ha'isha Echad Yechta? One person sinned. So this is really not a question on Rashi. It's a question on the story. Of course, Rashi doesn't address it, or maybe Rashi does address it, and that's why Rashi says what he says. We'll find out. But the question is a general question, which will lead us to our answer, which will lead us to understand Rashi and explain the pasuk in a brand new way. Vabir because is given. Pirushay ala pasuk vayakal aleim Korach v'geimar. Shalifnei pasuk zeh. When Rashi comes to explain the words vayakal aleim Korach gathered on them, or gathered them on Moshe and Aaron, Rashi says, he went to the Shvatim, upita isam, and he convinced them. You think I am fighting for myself? I'm upset for everyone. I'm doing it for you. Until everyone was convinced. Korach is the one who convinced, who sweet-talked the people, who mashcham bidvarim, and drew them in with words, that he means for their own good, until he brought them in his complaints against Moshe and Aaron. And the same thing refers even to the heads of the people that were participating in the machlekes. Dasan va'avidim and 250 people from Shevet Reuven. K'meish Perish Rashi, B'shvil Shoyer Shevet Reuven, Shmimenu Dasan va'avidim v'chulu v'Reuven shel Reish Nun Ish Sharui, Shachin L'kasu Banav. Since the Shevet Reuven, which is where Dasan va'avidim were from, and most of the 250 people were from Reuven, which was dwelling very close to Kahas and the families of Kahas, they joined Korach. Their involvement with the machlekes came because Korach convinced them. He sees some and he instigated them. Until he sees them, is convinced. He seduced them, he spoke to them, he sweet-talked them. Until they thought that his taina was true, was real. So Korach seems to be very guilty here, because it's true that many more people than just Korach joined the fight against Moshe Rabbeinu, but it was Korach who was responsible for instigating and convincing everyone to fight this fight. This is in brackets, because it's not negea right now to the hemshecha inyanim, but it's still important to tell us that even though a person cannot justify himself with this excuse, that he's not at fault for doing something inappropriate, because someone else convinced him, it's not a good excuse. A person should stay away from a rasha. And a person should be strong in his mind, not to be affected, not to be convinced from these sweet words. Im calls that nevertheless. At the end of the day, In actuality, they did not fight Moshe and Aaron other than because of the influence of Korach. And that's why Rashi brings the Moshe. And he uses the word Sesarcha in the Moshe. To emphasize, to point out that their conduct was disgusting to the king. Like the literal meaning of sircha, which means to be something that smells bad or something that's spoiled. They acted in a spoiled, a disgusting way to the king. But not that they were intending to rebel against the king. Or certainly not on a level that they would be liable for the death penalty. In other words, they acted inappropriately, but they weren't rebelling against the king. At least their intention wasn't to rebel against the king. Since we see that a miktas hamedina, a portion of the people of the country, sorchu, they acted disgustingly al kol panim, harei mistaber, it's logical that there may be at least one person who instigated or who convinced them and brought them to this inappropriate conduct. And he is a full-fledged sinner with rebelling against the king. Because he didn't just go with the flow. He instigated everyone else to go up against the king. He meant to hurt the king. Everyone else could have said, "Oh, I thought it was for my own good. I wasn't fighting the king. I was trying to better my own life." But the instigator, he clearly intended to go up against the king, and he instigated everyone else to join him. And for that, he's a chayta, it's not just a sirchen. And that's what Rashi writes, I don't know who is the chayta in the Lashon Yachid. I don't know who is the instigator and who is the cause of the sirchen. But the people of the Medina who joined the movement, they are not called chetim because they were just following blindly. But they do have a sirchen. They do have a blemish for behaving inappropriately. Therefore, when it comes to the Melech Basar Adam, the human king, he doesn't know who is the instigator, he doesn't know who is the sinner, therefore he has to punish everyone. One of our questions was, why would he punish people who are innocent? They're not really innocent, because they did rebel against him. Or I should rephrase that, they did act inappropriately against him, and therefore they deserve to be punished. Because he doesn't know which one person to pick out and punish. You know everybody's thoughts, and you know who's the instigator. So it's not fair that those who just acted disgustingly should get the same severe punishment as the instigator. That was Moshe Rabbeinu's argument. Moshe Rabbeinu's argument was not to say that only one person sinned. A lot of people sinned, but only one person instigated. This time of Moshe Rabbeinu, Rashi explains into the words of the pasuk. Here's something very important in these parentheses. It's not a separate dibur as it is printed. If you look in the Chumash, a punkt of Chumash that I have, but for that matter, it would probably be in many other Chumashim. When you look at Rashi on this pasuk was a pasuk of Beis, There's one dibur hamaschil, keil elekei aruches. Then there's another dibur hamaschil, ish echad. Says the Rebbe, it's not supposed to be two different dibur hamaschils. It's supposed to be one long Rashi, where he says, "V'yadeya ata miyachaita." In the end of the first Rashi, he says, "You know everybody's thoughts, so you know who's the chayta." And according to the Sikha, as we're learning it now, it means you know who's the instigator. And then Rashi continues, "Ha'ish echad hu hachayta." The one person, he is the instigator. Avol shar ha'am rak sarchu. Or the rest of the people just acted inappropriately. And then Rashi says the word v'ata, hayodea machshavis, but you who does know the thoughts, al kol ha'eda tiksef bitmiya. You're going to be angry and punish the whole Eda. In other words, what Rashi is adding over here is Rashi is explaining this concept. And he brings the mashal of the Malach Basar Badam. There is Sarchal of Mixas Medina. But you don't know who's the chayta, therefore when he punishes everyone. But you know everybody's machshavas. And you know who's the sinner. Who is the sinner? The ish echad, the one person is the sinner. And you, the yadea machshavas, should know who that is. And that's why Rashi has to say these words, hu hachayta, to say that only the instigator is the sinner. And Rashi has to add the word ve'ata, to say that you're the yadea machshavas and you know who it is. And what does the Eibishter answer? The Eibishter says, you said good. When he says that you said good, he doesn't mean to say that when you said good that only one person sinned. He means to say you said good to the general taina of Moshe, that we should only be punishing the instigator and not the rest of the people who just joined the fray. But in the details, where Moshe says there was only one sinner, it wasn't true that the way Moshe thought it, that there was only one chayta. I know. The question was, why does Rashi add with that niyadeya? I know that you're wrong, Moshe Rabbeinu, about saying ish echad yechta. Umeidia michata, and I'm going to let everyone know who sinned. Shelei Korach bilvad chata, ela gam dasa naviram chatu. Also, das naviram were part of the instigating group. Mashaykin Shadei, everyone else followed the leaders, but did not instigate. That's why the next pasuk, two psukim later, Abisha says to the people, leave the dwelling place of Korach and Navidim, ki shloshtam chaytimim. All three of them were chaytim, meaning instigators. All three of them were sinners, different than the rest of the sinners. So this answers all of our questions. Let's do this quickly. Question number one is, what is the mashal? What does the mashal add? So we answer to that. The mashal adds the idea that to explain the difference between sarcha and chayta, that some people sinned or some people acted inappropriately, but only one person is the actual instigator. Why does he not bring this mashal in Vayera? Because in Vayera there was no instigator. That whole idea doesn't fit in over here. Then he said, he asked the question, the Melech Bas, even a human king doesn't punish people randomly without investigating. So, unless they did something wrong, the answer is they did do something wrong. They joined the rebellion. It's just that they didn't intend to rebel, they intended for their own good. But he's not punishing innocent people. Why did he start with Sarcha and end with Chayta? Because he wants to exactly point out that the Mixas Medina, they were Sarcha, but they didn't instigate. The Chayta is the one person who instigated. And then why does he say Sarcha Lashon Rabim, Mixas Sarcha, Allah Mixas Medina, and then say Miyah Chayta Lashon Yachid? Because that was his point. His point was that even though there were many people who behaved inappropriately, there was only one Yachid who was the instigator. Then we asked, what is Rashi saying with the word Hu Achayta and the Ata? So we just said that Hu Achayta is trying to point out that only the one person is the instigator, and the Ata, you Hashem know who that person is. Why does Rashi not mentioned in the Dibra Maskil the word Yechtar, besides the fact that it's not a separate Rashi, so there really isn't even a Dibra Maskil. But in addition to that, the important part here is the Ha'ish Echad. To speak about the one person who's the instigator and that the Eibishter knows who that is. Not so much to focus on the fact that the Eibishter was being angry at the wrong people. Why does he answer Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yafa Amarta Ani Yadeh Meidiyah? Because ultimately, and the same thing in question Dalid, we see that 3 people sinned. It's exactly why he says Yafa Amarta. He wants to agree with him on one detail, on the detail that some people did worse than others, but he wants to make sure that he knows that there were 3 chaitim, 3 instigators. That's why he says, Ani yodeya, that I know something that you don't know. And of course, the main question, or the closest question, which he asked, why does Moshe Rabbeinu focus on the Ish Echad if he knows that there was a whole Eidah? Because he's focusing on the instigator. Ois Dalid, Ha'ira b'vedes ha'adam mefarish Rashi, mipirush Rashi zeh b'pnimis ha'inyanim. The Ha'ira that we could learn from this Rashi. V'super b'parsha, sheshalach Moshe likre l'dasan v'la'aviram v'gemer, v'imianu lavei v'anu ba'azaz kedela. Moshe called Dasan and Aviram, and they refused to come, and they answered with great impudence, great chutzpah. Ha'ad ki elisonu, la'misenu ba'midbar, heini anashveim tinaker. It's enough that you took us here to take us out of the midbar. Even if you would pull out our eyes, we still wouldn't come. Until Moshe became very upset. Shows that Dasan and Aviram were not just participating as inappropriate conduct. They were instigators, and they were instigating against Moshe Rabbeinu. Nevertheless, Moshe judges them favorably. He says only Korach sinned, but he focuses on Dasan v'Aviram, and he includes them in the limud zchus that they were just following Korach and they weren't chaitim. In the Hanacha, there's a whole arichis that most of the people that what they wanted wasn't bad. They wanted to be a mamlechas kayanim. They wanted to be being keteiros. They wanted to come closer to Hashem. What they really, really wanted, what wasn't so terrible. And he brings it in the Hara, in 29, Moshe Rabbeinu Eiv Yisrael. Moshe was an Eiv Yisrael. Moshe saw that what they wanted. In fact, he gave them to bring keteiros, so he saw that they were ready to risk their lives because they were being makter keteiros when they weren't kayanim. They had Moshe saw in them, he was malamet zchus in them, that they had a strong desire to come close to Hashem. They wanted to be kayanim, and they were told v'atam tiyu limamlechas kayanim. And this was the limud zchus. Umizeh ad kama tzarich kol echad v'echad. So we call echad yes maybe b'chinas Moshe Rabbeinu olav hashalom lifil lahadish hashlish menashe midazu. Therefore, we learn that every single Yid, every Yid has a piece of Moshe Rabbeinu inside of him, has to work on himself, to implant in himself this midah, lo dunes chaveri lekaf zchus, to judge another Yid, another person favorably. V'ad shafilu kishanogas chaveri beifin hashela l'che'era kol limud zchus. Even when his chaver's hanagi is in a way that seems to entirely negate any possibility of limud zchus, because of lahapech b'zchusei, nevertheless he should still turn things around to his favor. And because, as a result of that, because he's judging him favorably and he's finding any way in the world to judge him favorably, he'll do whatever he can to return him back and place him back on the right path. So there's a very, very powerful lesson about Moshe Rabbeinu, who Moshe Rabbeinu is, and who we have to be to emulate Moshe Rabbeinu. And even the people who stood up against Moshe Rabbeinu. It's interesting that in Parashat Shlach we had the Sikha where he said, not in the Eira Baveda, but in the Sikha where he explains the Meraglim that those who stood up against Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe couldn't daven for them, but he could bli melamed zchus on them. And if you melamed zchus on the person, you could see the good in them, you can machzor them b'tshuva. You We machzir them to the derech hayishar. And therefore we have to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. Because we have a shtickle Moshe Rabbeinu inside of us. Sharneichi b'kirba. We have to emulate this to see in another yid the schus shabbat. And utilize that schus to be able to help him out, to bring him back to the derech hayishar. Even Dasan v'Aviram, they gave Moshe Rabbeinu so many problems. I'll go upon him. That's the Sikha of Korach, with a very powerful lesson of limud schus on every single yid, even those who seem to conduct themselves in a manner that does not earn a limud schus.